Love is a tricky thing, and the act of finding the right partner in today's world feels like it's way harder than it should be. Meeting someone new is as easy as a swipe on an app, yet less people are in relationships today than our grandparents' generation. Has dating always been this complicated? Well, to find out, let's go back to the very beginning. Or, 50 years is cool too, I guess. The year is 1975. Disney World just opened Space Mountain. The first cell phone came out 2 years ago, and it was cheaper to buy a car than it is to live in New York today. For the average man and woman living in the 1970s, their needs and desires were fairly similar. They both desired to have a pleasing appearance, they both desired to spend quality time with their closest friends, and most prominently for the adults, they both desired to eventually find a romantic partner. For the man in particular, in the 1970s, there were many ways for him to find a potential date. For example, and there you have it. The 1970s man fixes his gaze. In this time period, it was customary for the man to make the first move, and usually takes the lead when communicating romantic interest. There were a multitude of ways for the man to decide how to make his first impression, but he had to think quick, because a stone fox, such as herself, typically won't stay at one place for too long. So, with a gentle nudge from his friend, he makes his move. As you can see, this Casanova is working his magic, choosing the simple yet effective, introducing himself while offering to buy her a drink approach. Now, one would assume that from this point forward, it would be as easy as following the tradition of every decade prior. The man would secure the date, they would both go on an extended courtship to determine compatibility with the intention of marriage in the future. However, for the 1970s woman, dating life looks different for her than how it did for her mother and grandmother. In America, as it was in many parts of the world, it was largely seen that the woman's only important role in society was being a homemaker and being a good mother to her children. But everything changed when the second wave feminist movement of the 60s bursted into popularity in the early 70s. Women wanted more out of their lives other than just being a good wife to their husband, and desired more control in the world dynamic that was previously dominated by men. As a result, this movement was the largest step forward in women's social and sexual liberation in the Western world at the time. With the availability of the contraceptive pill, the passing of Roe v. Wade in 1973, and amongst other things, this empowered women to feel more control and challenged the traditional gender roles society has always known, which of course trickled down into the dating world. Although not as prevalent, it was beginning to become less stigmatized for a woman to show initiative and demand more control out of her romantic life. And for this woman, she took initiative by deciding her response will be,
"Yeah, I would love to go on a date with you.
I'll call you tonight."
Okay. Now you're probably thinking this is all there was to dating back in the 70s. You went to a bar, met someone attractive, and off you went to start a new love life. And if you thought this, you would be absolutely wrong.
What? A newspaper ad for singles?
Ha, that's right. This was the 70s, baby, and there was more than one way to meet a potential partner. For the ultra-determined living in New York City, you could place yourself in Single News, a newspaper advertisement meant to advertise and matchmake singles looking for love in the Big Apple.
You don't look like your picture.
Or if you weren't comfortable meeting a complete stranger, and particularly if you lived in more rural areas, a common yet surefire way for a couple to meet was an introduction through mutual friends and family members. As a matter of fact, pretty much anywhere people typically congregate could be used as an opportunity to find your match made in heaven. As more women entered the workforce and pursued higher education, a coworker or a college schoolmate's catching your romantic eye became more common. Or if you attended attended your local church service, a music concert, a live event, perhaps a chance meeting at your grocery store or bookshop. Or for the adults young in age, roller disco and the night scene were a perfect place for a potential couple to meet. And it just so happens, that's exactly the location where this 70s man will take this woman for their first date. And he was a man with a plan. They stayed up for over an hour that night, talking on the telephone, getting to know each other a bit better, and discussing tomorrow night's plans. During this time period, phone calls were the only way to communicate to someone immediately at a distance. So, let's just say there wasn't much opportunity for you to hide if you couldn't smooth talk on the fly. And just like that, date night came at last. Both the man and the woman took the necessary steps to prepare. Although tradition was slowly changing, it was still customary for the man to pick up his date at the agreed upon location. So, with flowers in hand, the 1970s man met with his date and they both traveled together. As they entered the disco hall, they looked around, took in the atmosphere, and without another word, they both already knew it was time to... And boogie they did. They danced all throughout the night. There ain't nothing like getting to know someone else like getting your groove on. After they burnt a tremendous amount of calories getting groovy on the dance floor, they sat down to grab a bite to eat.
Who taught you how to dance?
And of course, at this time, it was tradition for the man to pay and cover the cost for the entire date. He still didn't feel comfortable with the idea of splitting the bill with the woman he's pursuing romantically. They must have spent what felt like hours getting to know each other better, discovering each other's interests, and finding out things they both shared in common. He obviously liked her, and she was starting to like him. Everything was going swimmingly. Now, I don't want to jump the gun, but by the looks of it, they may as well book the second date now.
Yeah, I don't think this is gonna work out.
Oh, damn.
Huh? And you ain't just a woofing?
In case you're confused as to what's going on here, you see, the 70s began the rise of casual dating. Long are the days where the average couple would be pressured to pursue a relationship with the thought of early marriage in mind, an idea that would have been frowned upon even 2 decades prior. More and more young adults, particularly women, had a greater sense of freedom, thanks in part to the women's liberation movement of the 60s, and control of their romantic lives, challenging the societal pressures to marry at a young age, focusing instead on personal achievement and education. And more freedom is always a good thing. However, in this scenario, it gave this woman the freedom to say,
Look, I just got into a really good college and my mom's been really pressing me to do that, and you want to get married young.
But ain't that normal though? Like, that's what my dad did, that's what my grandparents did.
That's not what we have to do. Like, we could take things slow. I know that's not what you're used to, but I think... Are you okay with...
Hey, sounds a pound. I ain't tripping.
Guess I'll call you later.
You better.
the year is 1985. Disney opened Epcot for the first time 2 years ago. Cell phones became available for purchase if you're rich, and you could fill up a gallon of gas with the same buying power I used to buy a bag of Doritos today. Dating in the 1980s was fairly similar to the dating rituals of the decade prior, as in, pretty much everything was still done in person, but with a few added twists. Of course, clubs, bars, shopping malls, or other social gatherings were still the prevalent method to meet a new romantic interest. Meeting amongst a friend of a friend or an introduction through a family member was also still common. And guess what? Phones were still landline, so if you called their house to set up a first date, you had to pray their parents did not pick up the phone first. But with the sudden rise in popularity of cable TV, it subsequently led to the rise of another popular medium of entertainment.
It's the dating game. And here's the star of the show and your host, Jim Lang.
Dating shows.
Bachelor number one, would you say hello to Carol, please?
If you want to have some fun, you got to pick number one. Hello, Carol.
How about number two?
I don't know what kind of bird that is, but hello.
All right, and bachelor number three.
Hello, Carol. How's it going, sweetheart?
All right.
You see, televised dating shows have been around since the 60s, with the first reality dating show, The Dating Game, premiering on ABC in 1965. However, it wasn't until the 80s where a burst of new dating reality shows sprang on the scene across the decade, with shows like Love Connection, Blind Date, and Matchmaker to name a few. While very unconventional and not a popular method by any means, this did serve as an additional option for a young adult to try their hand at dating. But as we'll see in the decades to come, this newfound interest in dating and matchmaking as a form of entertainment will disease the dating world in a way no one saw coming. But for now, let's take a look at this average 1980s couple. They've been dating for over a year and a half now. They met through mutual friends in their last year of high school, and although things have not been perfect, they've built their relationship up to a point where they now cohabit the same home. If you noticed, the 1980s woman nor man have a ring on their finger. As you can imagine, neither of their parents were thrilled with that news, as a couple living together before getting married was not a commonly accepted practice in previous generations. But hey, it's the 80s, baby. Times a changin'. Ah yes, the 1980s man receives a call from his best friend.
Yo, homeboy, thanks for hooking up that video dating idea, man. The girl I met is bad to the bone. I mean, bad to the bone.
Video dating? In the 1980s? What the heck is that? Dating shows weren't the only thing to boom from the 80s thanks to the rise of VHS.
Okay, early to bed, early to rise.
Video dating was another option determined singles had in hopes of meeting their significant other. You see, finding love hasn't always been as easy as meeting someone by chance at a bar. This was a dating service where men and women would record themselves on VHS tape, introducing themselves, their interests, and a short description of who they are.
Hi, my name's Monroe. You've probably already noticed that I have incredibly blue eyes.
Hello, my name is Ellen. Some people call me sexy. Others say I'm sensuous.
No fatties.
And for a membership fee, someone could rent a rotating catalog of pre-recorded VHS tapes from thousands of bachelors and bachelorettes, and afterwards decide who they want to match with.
I'm not having fun doing this.
The problem was these services were very expensive and did not catch on to the general public, but who knows? I ain't no time traveler, but maybe this will serve as the blueprint for a similar yet significantly more successful dating service in the future. We meet again with the 1980s couple on their date night. Back then, bringing your honey to the movie theaters was an excellent and acceptable date for the time period. As expected, the 1980s man covered the cost for everything, a pattern that the 80s woman was used to since they first began to date over a year ago. Everything was going well. Or at least, that's what they keep telling themselves. As they came back home for the night,
Hey, so what are we doing here?
We're watching TV. Whoa, what? Hey, what are you doing?
No, I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, you're still not making any sense. What are you talking about?
Our second anniversary is coming up, and I'm still just like, where's our
Don't
relationship going?
bring this
to
up
my mom,
again.
and she was suggesting
Your mom?
that.
Your mom. Okay, you know what? I love your mom. She's a choice lady, but I don't need her in our business, all right?
I'm just saying, we've been together for like 2 years. We moved in a year ago. Like, I'm just confused as to where this is going.
We're going steady, remember? Like, gave me my freaking varsity jacket in the last year of high school. Did that not mean anything? Yeah.
What a ring.
What is up with you ladies and wanting to put a label on everything? This ain't the 1950s. We're having fun, right? Like, besides, we're living together, we're dating, going on dates, plus we're having sex. We're doing everything that a married couple would already do without the label. Why would we do that extra work? Makes no freaking sense.
Then how am I gonna know that you want to commit to me for the long haul?
You know what? Bite me. I gotta bounce. Let me know when your mom gets out of your head.
The year is 1995. Disney dropped Pocahontas, a Goofy movie, and Toy Story in the same freaking year. I mean, talk about a generational run. Motorola dropped the first flip phone a year later, and alright, we get it. Gas and cars were cheaper back then. Can we move on now? The 90s were the decade where dating took its biggest leap forward compared to any decade prior, and communication between singles has never been the same since. But let's hold our horses, because this was still a time where face-to-face interaction dominated. If it wasn't school or work, usually the man would be the one to summon up the courage to approach someone he found attractive. However, now, if you somehow grabbed someone's number, it was a game of luck and prayer whether or not you got their answering machine.
Hello, please leave a message after the tone.
Some found this frustrating as it typically caused a delay between setting up a date right away, while others rejoiced because it alleviated the pressure of an immediate phone call, opting to instead leave a voicemail and allowing them to get back to you at their own time. Phone tag is what they called it, and after a couple tries, if you missed your chance to catch them over a phone call, you assumed you'll never see or hear from them again. But that's where pagers come in.
Has made it easier to stay directly in touch with those important to you.
Mom, we got a better idea. I've got to we'll page you.
Motorola pagers for the messages you can't afford to miss.
And I know my 90s teenagers can remember this. A pager was a method people commonly used in the 90s as a way to send messages to people immediately. You couldn't have full-on conversations, but if you felt so inclined, you could ask your potential romantic interest for their pager number to send a quick message to flirt, with the added benefit of having more time to think of a reply than you would have had over a live phone call. However, this newfound convenience and indirectness of communication methods serves as a sign of the shift between how people viewed dating culture in the 90s versus the traditions of the past. As in, no longer was dating seen only as a structured path to marriage. In this time period, sometimes a date just meant hanging out with someone that you found attractive. There was less societal pressure to pre-plan a grand gesture to impress a romantic interest. Instead of planning to go out to the movies, you may opt instead to buy a movie from your local Blockbuster and watch it at home. Instead of going out to dance like they did in the 70s, you will likely choose instead to walk around aimlessly at the mall.
What are you guys doing at the mall today?
Shopping and looking for boys. Same.
Which comes first?
Looking for boys.
And instead of actually spending time alone with your date, you may opt instead for a group activity amongst friends, not spending much time, if any, by yourselves. Subsequently, the 90s also saw the rise and resurgence of hookup culture, especially amongst younger singles and college students. And the story goes like this. You see, in the 1980s, the HIV/AIDS crisis stirred a fear amongst society, steering young people away from the idea of casual sex. But by the 90s, the fear was beginning to wane. With better awareness of safe sex education, society became more open to the idea of casual relationships, with hooking up at the center of it all. But there lies the woes of this 1990s man. He's found himself in and out of casual dating for the past few months. He's had his fun, engaging in the thrill of short-term relationships, feeling out the dating scene, and speaking truthfully, that is what he wanted at first. There was something freeing about having fun with someone new with no expectation of a long-term commitment. However, over time, he's began to yearn for something more. Something a bit more serious. But man, going to bars and clubs to meet someone new seems like a chore. If only there was a convenient, low-pressure way for singles to meet people. Oh, that? It looks like he got a new AOL instant message. I wonder who it could be from. The 1990s woman has been chatting with a few different people online for over a week now. The 90s saw the beginning in the popularity of the internet, and ever since this new online chat room website called AIM came out in 1997, she realized that not only was it a great way to chat with friends at a distance, but unexpectedly, it became a convenient way to meet new men she could find a romantic interest in, particularly with she's already had a few guys reach out to her first. But this convenience did not come without its due skepticism. Not only was the internet still new, but meeting up with a stranger in person who you first met online felt like you were inviting danger. Without a way to verify someone's identity, background, or intentions, you had no idea if the person you planned to meet were who they said they were. There wasn't a way to video call beforehand or cross-examine their name on a different website, so this posed as a new safety risk for everyone, but particularly women. However, after talking to the 90s man for a little while, she felt comfortable enough to take him up on his offer. And boy, was he excited. That worked out way better than expected. Who knew there'd ever be a time where you can meet someone new without ever leaving your house? On that note, the 90s man also heard of a new website called Match.com, which apparently is a website made specifically for people to find others to date. Which, you know, seemed cool and all, but no one he knew was actually using it. As a matter of fact, people in general thought that online dating was something only desperate people or weirdos did if they didn't have the skills to approach someone in person. But I guess. It's not like online dating will ever be something that catches on. Oh my god, it caught on. The year is 2005. Disney dropped their best animated movie that decade. Phones are finally beginning to not suck. And I'll be honest, I'm not a car owner, so I'm just gonna assume this was a reasonable price for a new car. The 2000s saw the surge of the internet and its newfound use in everyday life. Technology has bled its way inside how we communicate. Phone calls? Now we have texting. Can't see your friends who live at a distance? Haha, you silly goose. That's what social media is for. Having trouble meeting people in the bars and clubs? Well, hell, that's what online dating is for. Match.com became the first dating-specific website in 1995, and ever since then, more websites and companies began to throw their hat in the ring to capitalize on the online dating scene. eHarmony topped the new millennium off by launching in 2000. Christian Mingle followed a year later, targeting people who are only looking to match with others of the Christian faith. Plenty of Fish dropped in 2003. OkCupid in 2004. Heck, even YouTube originally began as a dating website in 2005. Long are the days where your dating pool and options were limited only to the people in your town, neighborhood, or only to people you interacted with on your day-to-day. Thanks to matchmaking sites and subsequently the rise of instant messaging and video calling later in the decade, long-distance dating became a possibility, and maintaining long-distance relationships became more sustainable. And with accessibility came frequency. It now became more common to date multiple people at the same time before deciding on a relationship, simply due to the sheer number of people you can now connect with in a short period. The problem with dating in decades past is that many people would struggle to meet like-minded partners in person, especially if you only wanted to date people with a specific interest or within a particular community. However, thanks to niche websites targeting specific demographics, it is now easier to find those like-minded singles you desire. In this time period, following the trend set before it, there was less pressure than ever before when it came to the idea of marriage and long-term commitment. Why rush into things when you can just experiment with what and who you like? When you can explore different relationships in your 20s first and leave all that marriage stuff for later on in life. Not only did you have the choice of meeting someone in person at a social gathering, but now society had the additional option of meeting people online at their own convenience. Introverts and busy professionals alike rejoice at this new opportunity, allowing more people to date the 2000s than they had in any decade before, which was especially important for this 2000s man. He was at a point in his life where he prioritized his career and future above most things, and as you can imagine, this focus didn't leave him much time to do anything else. But there does come a point in a person's life where they realize that They aren't getting any younger, and the desire for romantic companionship can no longer be subdued by the desire for career achievement. So for the past few weeks, in his rare moments of downtime, he's tried his hand at online dating. He signed up for a few matchmaking websites, alternating between each one, matching and having conversations with multiple people at once. But he's found that majority of the conversations never flourished beyond basic pleasantries, either from lack of mutual interest or simply not responding in a timely manner, allowing the conversation to die. That was until one day he matched with a woman who felt different. Even though they've only been talking for a few days, the conversations they shared were interesting and engaging. They related on a lot of things, shared similar interests, and even when he wasn't at his computer, he found himself thinking about her. So, he finally decided to go for it and ask her out. Of which she quickly agreed. But not before doing her prior research. At some point during their conversations, they exchanged last names, and the 2000s woman used this information to cross-examine the 2000s man on social media. In this time period, before going on a date with a stranger, it was not unheard of to research the person online beforehand, for many reasons. Maybe you'd like to know more about this person before meeting officially, maybe you're concerned that they might not be who they told you they were, maybe you're just a creep. Anyways, the 2000s man and woman met for dinner, which is a typical first date for two people who simply, just want to get to know each other better. Then it was time to pay the bill. The man reaches for his wallet, but the woman already threw her credit card on the table. Confused by her gesture, he motions towards her, signaling that she could put her purse away and that he got the bill. But she was persistent and wouldn't budge. Again, he explains that he was the one that's taking her out on a date, so it would only make sense for him to cover the full cost. She insists that she'll feel bad if she lets him pay for the entire dinner, and that they're both on a date together, so it should be okay to allow her to pay for her fair share. After some time, the man finally concedes, and they split the bill. Times are changing, I guess. Changing for the better, I suppose. Less things for him to worry about. Oh, it looks like his friend posted a new update on MySpace. I wonder what it says. Let's see here. Top 10 things I learned from 10 years of dating. What? Who's going to read that nonsense? I mean, come on. Who in their right mind will judge their love life based off what they see on social media?
In this video, we'll take a look at the 8 signs of a relationship that should end. Please consider subscribing to our channel for more inspirational videos covering relationships, self-improvement,
The year is 2015. Avengers Age of Ultron just came out. Apple successfully created their own cult. And you know what? Who needs a car anyways? Walk the 20 miles to work like a real adult. We catch the 2010s man in the middle of... Wait, what is he doing? Oh, haha. It looks like someone caught his eye. And luckily, we've already seen this exact scenario play out in previous decades. You sly dog, you. I mean, just look at the determination in his eyes. This should be a piece of cake. Well, that was weird. Hey, whoa, no worries, playa. No need to beat yourself up. It happens to the best of us, champ. I'm sure you'll find the courage next time for sure. Wait, that's right. Ha, your love life isn't lost after all. There's this girl from his old high school days that he still kept in touch with. He always liked her, but he never thought she'd actually like him back at the time. But hey, he thought to himself, now that it's been a couple years since graduation, why not shoot his shot? It's been a while since he sent that risky text. Let's see what she replied. Oh, she left him undelivered for 3 days. Well, it's okay. Maybe you misread the situation and she just wasn't interested. You know what? Let's get your mind off things. Let's go watch some TV, huh? Heck yeah, I love this movie.
Every time he punched this guy, what's what you do.
Did you drink tea?
Yeah, tea's good. Thank you.
Then you came along bringing something new. Show the kind of vibe that I never knew.
Man, I bet if I looked like Michael B. Jordan, I'd have no problem talking to women. Is the problem with how I look? We now cut over to the 2010s woman doing whatever it is she's doing. Oh, it looks as if she stumbled upon an Instagram post. Looks like it's pictures from her friend's last vacation. Oh, it's with her and her boyfriend. Wow, these pictures look great. What a beautiful couple. From the outside looking in, anyone looking at their Instagram page would assume they're the perfect couple. Which is pretty ironic considering. Wait, what's with that look on your face? Wait, are you actually getting jealous? Wait, but... Well, she has her ears covered, so I guess she can't hear me, but what she doesn't know is that couple has been in heated arguments on and off for the past year now, and we're almost on the verge of breaking up just last week. Of course, they wouldn't want to show the whole world that they secretly hate each other, but I guess there's no way to tell that just by looking at their social media. On that note, let's swing back to the 2010s man to see what he's up to. Hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. Oh, it appears he's really focused on something. I wonder what he's looking at. A YouTube video? Seems normal enough. Wait, what does that title say? Why women don't find you attractive? Ah, what? Come on, man. Why are you looking at stuff like this? Do you really think some random guy on the internet is going to give you the advice you need to get yourself out there in the dating world? As long as you take care of yourself and put some more practice in, you should be fine. Oh, fine. I guess I'll leave you be for now. And just what are you doing here, young lady? You're also watching YouTube videos? Okay, well, what are you watching? Looks like just another influencer couple vlogging channel. Not so bad, I guess. They seem like pretty cool people, and I can't lie. Their relationship does look pretty inspiring. Ah, come on, what now? Let me guess. You wish you had a relationship just like theirs. Look, it's fine to have a point of inspiration, but you don't even know these people. Fine. Clearly, these two aren't of any help. So let me bring the audience at home up to speed. Social media has graduated from websites and desk computers to apps and cell phones. The internet has become more accessible to the average person more than it's ever been, which is great because communication between human beings has never been easier. And so were the options people had when it came to dating. Instead of finding the courage to walk up to someone you like, talk to them, and risk getting rejected in person, you can muster up that same courage to slide into their Instagram DMs. Which, you know, you could still get rejected, but I can't imagine it hurting as much when you can simply slide into someone else's DMs 0.2 seconds later. Or if you do meet someone in person, asking for their cell phone number right away might feel too personal. So to soften the blow and reduce their chance of rejection, you may instead ask for their Snapchat or Instagram page, which also doubles as a way to learn more about a person first more than a phone number ever could. However, this brought itself its own host of problems. Comparison has always been a human issue, and social media has lowered the barrier to entry to peek into the lives of others on a massive scale. The problem begins, however, when we forget to realize that what's shown on the internet is never the full picture. Social media during this time sparked a lot of performative relationships. Relationships where gestures of love and perceived intimacy were intentionally exaggerated or only done in order to look good for the internet. Sometimes this was done out of obligation. For example, if you were an influencer couple and the bulk of your content revolves around your relationship, and other times this was done for selfish reasons, such as maybe you simply just wanted the world to believe your relationship is perfect. Either way, neither in a scenario reveals the full picture of the highs and lows that come in every relationship. Therefore, it's easy to look at other couples on your feed and assume that everything they have going on is perfect and ideal, while being frustrated with your own love life because you know you don't have that. Portrayal of romance and dating in other forms of media don't help our case either. In the 2010s, cable television has grown to a point where almost every household owns a TV. Dating reality shows, what used to be a genre where someone would choose their favorite contestant based on who had the greater connection, now divulged into expensive gestures and grandiose displays of love in order to impress the other person. This, alongside other media, reinforces the idea of fast love in a storybook kind of way, where it feels like dating should be a love at first sight ideal, where if you didn't instantly feel a strong connection, it may not be right. Where if you didn't fit the conventional beauty standards often portrayed in such media, you may be out of luck. All of this combined can skew someone's idea of whether or not they even stand a chance in the dating world today. Sometimes not even bothering to put themselves out there to begin with, saying, if this is the expectation of dating today, why even bother? Yup. Well, I guess that pretty much sums up the 2010s. At least, I think. Wait, why do I feel like I'm missing something? Oh, right, duh. Dating apps. I can't believe I almost forgot. If all else fails, that'll definitely get him out of his dating funk. Yeah, those dating sites from the last decade are now on our cell phones, but in a completely different format. Apps like Tinder started this whole thing a few years ago in 2012 and revolutionized the online dating world as we know it, with other apps like Hinge and Bumble following suit shortly. What makes dating apps like Tinder so different from the desktop websites of the olden days was that they introduced the swipe left, swipe right system, where you're given the option of viewing one person at a time, and you have to quickly decide based on their profile pictures and description whether or not you'd like to potentially match with them or move on to the next person. And by the looks of it, this 2010s man clearly has had experience with these apps before. Oh wow, just look at him go. It's funny, it's almost like a video game. He's swiping really fast actually. I don't even think he looked at that last girl. Well, what would you know? He's already matched someone and secured a date not too long afterwards. Haha, that's my guy. I'm sure this'll all go well. It didn't go well. Not to worry, because that's what the apps are for. Why spend time moping around when you can just swipe right one more time? I guess he has a type. It's taken a while for him to choose someone he feels attracted enough to. Alright, another match. I know it'll work out this time. You got this, my boy. Second time's the charm. The second time was, in fact, not the charm. But, okay, I guess one more time shouldn't hurt. What the heck is going on? This shouldn't even be possible. Out of every decade so far, this should be the decade where dating is the easiest. You're not limited by location. You can meet someone new without ever leaving your house. And for some reason, sir, you can't bring yourself to choose someone to commit to. What, you're fatigued or something? Fatigued from what? Dating? Dating apps? What's so tiring? The fact that you got ghosted a few times in these conversations, seemingly out of nowhere? The fact that you can't decide if you're making the right choice because there's so many people to swipe on, and the feeling if you choose one person over the others, you might miss out on something better? What? The fact that a lot of people you match with aren't upfront with what they're looking for, and by the time you find out that you want different things out of life, you've already spent a chunk of time with them? The fact that a lot of people don't know how to hold a conversation and can't conjure up a single sentence outside of, hey, how are you? Actually, now that I think about that, that does sound pretty tiring. But I guess that begs the question, Mr. 2010s man. What is it that you're looking for? Are you even serious about a relationship right now? The year is 2025. 5 years after the pandemic and about 2 years out from lockdown officially ending, the world has mostly resumed to pre-virus normalcy. Yet, some may argue that the lingering effects of human separation for 3 years is still felt. Teenagers who became adults during this period may have gotten used to a world where strangers don't interact much unless necessary. I mean, I guess it's alright. You never really get the chance to feel that lonely anyways. Nearly half of men this generation admit to never approaching and asking a woman out in person. Well, that really is something, ain't it? I guess fear does get to the best of us. I mean, I guess there really isn't a need to anymore, right? That won't stop the unsolicited dating advice that you can find online, though. It's like there's a new expert every day. As a matter of fact, most people nowadays aren't even in a rush to get married. I mean, can you blame them?
Around half of Gen Z are living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow, social media is getting really plagued with these dating challenges now. Oh well, I guess it's a fun watch. I'm sure people have enough discernment to realize that most people on these shows are only here for exposure, and this is not a representation of dating today. It's been a couple days and she still hasn't responded yet. I mean, but can you blame her? I feel like I've been giving her mixed signals this whole time. The world in general just got busier. I'd be shocked if people of this generation even had time to pursue a serious relationship. You know, just between my job and going back to school in the fall, I guess I really don't know what I want right now. And looking back, I probably should have been more upfront with her about it. Nah, not worth it. Maybe the next one will be better.
The following apps have created virtual girlfriends that talk to you, love you, allow you to live out your erotic fantasies, and learn through data exactly what you like and what you don't like, creating the perfect relationship. And that young lonely men, quote, are choosing AI girlfriends over real women, meaning they don't have relationships with real women, don't marry them, and then don't have and raise babies